Thank you for choosing Wisdom of the Dharma. If you found this video insightful, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new update. Your support helps us keep sharing powerful, life-changing wisdom with the world. And don't forget to drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's grow and learn together. The Rice Ritual: Forgotten Secrets That Still Work. What if the secret to attracting wealth wasn't in your bank account, but in a jar sitting quietly in your kitchen? Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? But across centuries and cultures, people have turned to one humble item again and again, not a crystal, not a coin, but a simple jar of rice. Inside it, they bury objects of meaning: a silver ring, a coin, even a feather. Not as superstition, but as a quiet ritual. A bridge between intention and energy. And the results? Surprising, even to skeptics. This practice is not about wishful thinking. It's about alignment. In Buddhism, we are taught that the material world is not separate from the spiritual one. Every object carries its own frequency, its own karma, its own vibration. And when placed with awareness, that object becomes a seed, one that grows not in soil, but in energy. And rice, the staple of life, becomes the sacred ground where it all begins. Today on Wisdom of the Dharma, I want to take you on a journey. Not just of Feng Shui, or energy placement, or wealth attraction, but of how small, intentional acts can awaken powerful forces inside and around us. We're going to explore a practice that may look simple from the outside, but has transformed the inner and outer lives of countless people. A practice that doesn't ask for your belief, only your openness. In this video, you'll discover 7 powerful items you can bury in a jar of rice to unlock peace, abundance, and flow in your home. But more importantly, I'll show you why they work, from a Buddhist, energetic, and psychological perspective. And I'll share real-life examples of how this ritual has changed people's relationships with money, with their homes, and even with themselves. But before we dive in, take a moment to set your intention. Drop a comment below with a personal affirmation, something like "I am open to receiving abundance," or "I create a space where wealth flows naturally." These aren't just words, they're energetic invitations. And they can shift more than you realize. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Wisdom of the Dharma, so you never miss teachings that help you live more intentionally, more richly, and more peacefully. Because in the world of Dharma, nothing is random. Not even where you bury a silver ring. Let's begin. Part 1. Rice, the Dharma of life energy. Rice is everywhere. On our plates, in our pantries, at our celebrations. But rarely do we pause to think about just how spiritually significant this humble grain is. In Buddhist tradition, rice is more than nourishment, it is merit in physical form. Monks receive rice as alms, not for the food itself, but for the energetic exchange it represents: generosity, gratitude, and the cycle of giving and receiving. In ancient temples, families would offer bowls of rice on the altar, not just to feed the monks, but to symbolically feed the universe, trusting that what they gave would return 100-fold. Rice represents abundance because it is, quite literally, life-sustaining. A single seed can grow into a stalk that produces hundreds more. It is the embodiment of potential, a reminder that from one small act of intention, wealth can multiply. In Feng Shui, rice carries what is known as sheng qi, living energy. Unlike decorative objects or synthetic materials, rice is alive in its own subtle way. It holds the imprint of sun, rain, soil, and human care. When you fill a jar with rice, you are not just creating storage. You are building a reservoir of natural qi, of grounded, abundant energy that absorbs, transforms, and radiates vitality back into your home. Now imagine this. What happens when you place an object, let's say, a silver ring, inside that field of energy? It's not just storage. It becomes a ritual. The rice cradles the object like the earth cradles a seed. It insulates it, amplifies it, and helps it radiate its own energy into the environment. Whether it's a symbol of protection, prosperity, or peace, that item's influence is magnified by the purity and fertility of the rice surrounding it. There's also a psychological aspect to this practice. Every time you walk past that jar, something subtle happens in your mind. You remember that you've created a space where wealth is invited. You feel grounded, supported, and quietly motivated. In a world filled with noise, that one simple object becomes a center of peace, a gentle reminder that you are not just surviving, but consciously shaping the energy of your life. In many temples in Southeast Asia, you'll still find jars of rice placed near the entrances. Not for decoration. For anchoring the space in abundance. For signaling to both seen and unseen forces, this is a place of peace, of prosperity, of spiritual fullness. And your home, whether big or small, deserves that same signal. So as we begin this journey through the 7 sacred items to bury in your rice jar, remember this: the rice itself is already a spiritual ally. Treat it with respect. Use fresh, clean rice. Handle it with care. And when you place your chosen object into it, do so with mindfulness, not like you're hiding something, but like you're planting a seed in sacred ground. Because that's exactly what you're doing. Now, let's explore the first sacred object, the silver ring. Part 2, Silver Ring, the silent guardian of wealth. Silver may not sparkle like gold, but it speaks in a language gold often forgets, the language of calm, clarity, and quiet strength. In both Feng Shui and Buddhist traditions, silver carries a cooling yin energy. While gold ignites ambition and outward achievement, silver works inward, balancing emotions, deflecting chaos, and offering silent protection in the face of life's storms. It's the energy of the moon, not the sun. Of reflection, not radiance. Of protection, not power. That's why the silver ring is one of the most powerful items you can bury in your rice jar. This tiny object, when chosen with intention, becomes more than jewelry, it becomes a guardian. A circular talisman representing wholeness, unity, and the cycle of karma. In Buddhist symbolism, the circle, or enso, reflects the perfection found in imperfection, how the ever-turning wheel of life can lead to peace when met with awareness. Now imagine that ring, lying quietly inside a jar of rice. The rice amplifies abundance. The silver ring guards it. One creates energy, the other stabilizes it. Let me share a real example. A client of mine, let's call her Natalie, was a small business owner struggling to keep her work and finances stable. She didn't believe in energy work, but she was open-minded. So she followed a simple instruction. Find a silver ring that symbolized calm. Clean it with salt water, and bury it in a clean jar of rice near her workspace. No rituals, no incense, no candles, just intention. She forgot about it for weeks. But what she didn't forget was how her anxiety started to ease. How her nights became less restless. How customers she hadn't seen in years began returning. She didn't attribute it all to the jar, but one day, when she opened it to check on the ring, she described the energy as still, but strong. Like it was silently working all along. That's the essence of silver. Unlike flashier objects that demand attention, silver does its work in the background, cleansing negative vibrations, grounding scattered thoughts, and guarding the space from unseen disturbances. If you're selecting a silver ring for your own jar, avoid anything ornate. Simplicity is key. A smooth, Circular band without jagged edges represents harmony between heaven and earth. This form stabilizes chi and prevents energetic leakage from your space. Before placing the ring in the rice, cleanse it with salt water or hold it under cool running water while silently stating your intention. Something simple like, may this space be peaceful. May my wealth be steady. May my mind be calm. Then gently place the ring into the rice. Not too deep, let it be held, not hidden. And each time you walk past that jar, allow it to remind you, calmness is not the absence of challenge, it's the quiet strength to move through it with grace. That's the silver energy at work. Protective. Grounded. Silent. Steady. Part 3, Beads of Protection, How Mantras Become Money Magnets. Among all sacred tools across Buddhist traditions, few are as deeply personal and spiritually charged as a string of prayer beads. Called mala in Sanskrit, these beads aren't just tools for counting mantras. They are anchors of intention, repetition, discipline, presence. And when infused with mindfulness, they become channels for spiritual protection and material transformation. In Feng Shui, prayer beads carry an energetic quality similar to flowing water. They cleanse, they circulate, they harmonize. When placed in a jar of rice, an already potent symbol of nourishment and abundance, these beads magnify the frequency of peace, attracting not only inner stillness but also outer stability, including financial flow. Let's take a moment to imagine the scene. You have a strand of natural wooden beads, warm to the touch from years of prayer. You hold them gently, not out of superstition, but with quiet respect. Each bead represents a breath, a moment, a turning of the mind towards something higher. Now, you bury that strand gently into a clean jar of rice. The rice welcomes it like fertile soil embracing a sacred root. What you've just created is more than a ritual, it's a resonant field of intention. I once spoke to a young nurse named David who worked long night shifts in a high-stress environment. He had little time for himself, let alone spiritual practice. But his grandmother had given him a strand of mala beads made from sandalwood, a gift she said would keep his mind from breaking. David didn't chant with them. He didn't meditate much. But one night, after hearing about the rice jar method, he placed those beads inside a jar of jasmine rice and set it by the front door. Within days, he noticed something subtle. His sleep became deeper, his anxiety less sharp, and his work felt more manageable. He later said, I didn't know if it was working, until I noticed how different I felt coming home. That's the quiet magnetism of prayer beads. They don't shout. They resonate. If you choose to use prayer beads for this practice, opt for those made from natural materials, wood, seed, stone, or crystal. Plastic or synthetic beads may carry none of the spiritual charge you're trying to activate. Also, the number of beads matters. A traditional 108 bead mala holds deep spiritual power, but even a 27 or 54 bead strand can be just as effective if treated with reverence. Before placing the beads into the rice, run them slowly through your fingers. You don't have to recite a mantra, your breath alone can be the chant. As you do this, imagine your worries passing through the beads, being absorbed, transformed, and dissolved. Then, gently bury them into the rice. Like the silver ring, don't push them too deep. Let the energy breathe. And above all, treat the jar like a sacred space. Even if no one else in your home understands it, you will know, this is your quiet altar, your protection circle, your magnet for mindful wealth. Part 4, The Gold Illusion, a symbol that awakens drive. Gold catches the eye. It shines. It dazzles. It seduces the mind with promises of wealth, success, and status. But in Feng Shui and Buddhist thought, gold, especially symbolic gold, serves a deeper purpose than mere decoration or display. It becomes a mirror for your motivation. That's where the fake gold ingot comes in. Let's be clear, it doesn't matter if the ingot is real or fake. In energy work, material value is not the point, symbolic resonance is. A gold ingot, even a plastic one, is a trigger object, a reminder that abundance is a mindset, not just a bank balance. And when you bury it in a jar of rice, that symbol of prosperity is held in the embrace of growth energy, creating a steady pulse of wealth attracting intention in your home. Gold, in Buddhist texts, is often linked not only to wealth but to the middle way, the balance between indulgence and renunciation. It glitters, yes, but true gold does not distract. It inspires. It awakens drive without feeding greed. And that is the exact energy we want to cultivate. Let me tell you about a man named Jacob, an independent contractor who struggled with inconsistency. His income came in bursts, and he constantly swung between feast and famine. A friend gifted him a small golden ingot, the kind used in traditional Chinese New Year displays. Out of curiosity, Jacob placed it into a jar of rice on his desk. Within a few weeks, something strange began to happen. Not magic. Momentum. He started following up with old clients more consistently. He said no to draining projects. He started a savings habit he had always put off. None of this was because the ingot made money fall from the sky, but because every time he saw that small, glowing object in its bed of rice, he remembered who he was trying to become: stable, disciplined, successful. The fake gold ingot works because it links vision to practice. If you decide to use this item, pick one that's simple, not overly flashy or theatrical. Brass, alloy, or gold-colored metal are excellent materials. Avoid plastic versions with stickers or logos, they often carry chaotic energy. The ideal ingot should fit comfortably in your jar and feel respectable, not kitschy. Before placing it in the rice, take a moment to set your intention. Hold the ingot in your palm and visualize the version of yourself you want to become: secure, generous, debt-free, or perhaps successful in business. Let that version of you soak into the symbol. Then place it in the rice, near the top, not buried too deep. Let it be visible, just slightly, like the tip of a dream breaking the surface of your everyday life. Because more than anything, this gold ingot is not a shortcut to success. It's a daily reminder that you are worthy of wealth. That you are already on the path. And that abundance, like gold itself, often begins as an idea before it becomes a reality. Part 5, Coins from the Ancestors, Bridging Past and Prosperity. Some objects carry weight beyond their material form. Not in grams or ounces, but in history. In memory. In karma. Ancient coins are one such object, small, humble, often forgotten in drawers or antique boxes, yet rich with the quiet echo of centuries. In Feng Shui, these coins, especially those with a round outer shape and a square hole in the center, are not just symbols of money. They are gateways between heaven and earth. The circle represents the sky, infinite and ever-moving. The square, the earth, stable, grounding, and real. Together, they create a balanced field of energy, both expansive and secure. But there's more. In Buddhist belief, these coins aren't just lucky charms. They are lineage markers, carriers of ancestral blessing. The hands that once held them may be long gone, but their imprint remains. When you place an ancient coin into a jar of rice, you're not just activating financial luck. You're opening a subtle, sacred dialogue between past and present, between the energies of those who came before you and the opportunities waiting to emerge now. I once met an elderly woman in Chiang Mai who ran a tea shop passed down through 4 generations. Above the counter sat a simple jar of rice, inside it a worn coin from the early 1900s. She told me it had belonged to her grandfather, who built the business from nothing. "This coin," she said, "reminds the house who we are." That story stayed with me. Because energy isn't just about what we want to attract, it's also about what we choose to honor. When we acknowledge where we come from, we create stronger roots for where we're going. If you don't have an heirloom coin, don't worry. You can use any round coin with a square center, or one that feels meaningful to you. It doesn't have to be rare, what matters is that it's respected. Clean the coin gently, removing physical and energetic residue. As you do, say a silent prayer of gratitude, not just for wealth, but for the road that led you here. Place the coin into your rice jar mindfully. Let it sit upright if possible, or tilt it slightly so it connects clearly with the rice. Don't bury it deep. These coins work best when they are seen, honored, and allowed to breathe. The result? A grounding force. A gentle reminder that wealth is not just about moving forward fast, but also about moving forward with roots, with clarity, with ancestral strength at your back. Because when you walk in harmony with those who came before you, prosperity is no longer a chase, it's a continuation. If you've made it this far, you're clearly someone who values the quiet power of energy, tradition, and mindfulness. If these teachings resonate with you, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Wisdom of the Dharma, and share it with someone who might need a shift in their space or spirit. Your support helps keep this wisdom alive, and helps more people reconnect with the energy of peace and prosperity. Now, let's move on to one of the most fragrant protectors of the home, dried herbs. Part 6. Herbs of the Earth, the Scented Shield. Some blessings don't shout, they whisper. They drift through the air with the scent of cinnamon or rosemary. They rest quietly on a shelf, unnoticed but present. And yet, they shift the atmosphere in a room more than any expensive decor or loud ritual ever could. Dried herbs, when used with intention, are among the most ancient and powerful energetic tools in both spiritual and Feng Shui traditions. Long before incense sticks or smudging sprays, people turned to the earth itself, to leaves, bark, and roots, to cleanse their spaces, protect their homes, and realign their spirits. In Buddhist monasteries, herbs were often hung at windows or tucked beneath mats, not for aroma, but for energy. They absorbed illness, deflected chaotic vibrations, and brought a sense of sacred stillness into daily routines. This practice wasn't called Feng Shui. It was just life in harmony with nature. So what happens when you place dried herbs in a jar of rice? You create a living filter, a fragrant, natural barrier that shields your home from negativity while drawing in fresh, nourishing qi. And each herb carries its own special gift. Cinnamon is the fire of protection. With its warm and spicy scent, it drives out stagnant energy and replaces it with vibrancy. In Feng Shui, cinnamon is associated with prosperity and strength, perfect for anyone starting a new venture or needing a fresh push. Rosemary, on the other hand, is like the wise elder of herbs. It calms. It clears. It brings mental clarity and emotional peace. Spiritually, rosemary is tied to memory and remembrance, a gentle guardian of family harmony and ancestral connection. Time is subtle, but don't underestimate it. In Feng Shui, it is used to guard against bad influences, both physical and emotional. It's the herb of resilience, helping to fortify your space against outside pressure. When you combine these in your rice jar, you're not just decorating, you're curating a field of safety and abundance. The rice offers nourishment. The herbs, protection. Together, they create balance. One of my students, a single mother named Alana, once shared a beautiful practice. She placed a few cinnamon sticks and sprigs of dried rosemary into her rice jar and set it by her son's bedroom door. "It's like a silent prayer," she told me. "I can't protect him from everything in the world, but I can make sure our home feels like a sanctuary." And it worked. Not magically, not overnight, but gradually, their home felt lighter, quieter, more focused. Her son started sleeping better. Arguments faded. The space felt held. If you try this practice, remember, freshness matters. Use herbs that are fully dried but still aromatic. Avoid anything moldy or faded. It won't carry the energy you want. Place the herbs gently into the top layer of rice, allowing them to stay visible. Let their scent mingle with the room. And once every month or two, replace them. Refreshing the herbs is like renewing your vows with the energy of your home. A simple act that keeps your intentions alive. Because when your space feels calm, you think clearly. When it smells pure, you breathe easier. And when the air is clean, your wealth, internal and external, has room to grow. Part 7, The White Feather, Angelic Energy at Home. There's something unmistakable about the moment you find a white feather, on your doorstep, in a quiet hallway, or resting gently beside a window. It feels different, like a soft message from something unseen. A reminder that you're not alone. Across many spiritual traditions, the white feather is seen as a symbol of divine presence, a quiet visitation from protective energies, or even ancestors. It carries the essence of the element air, which in Feng Shui and Buddhist symbolism represents breath, clarity, movement, and higher consciousness. It brings not only purity, but presence. When you bury a clean white feather in a jar of rice, you are creating more than a sacred object. You're creating a portal of peace, a spiritual anchor in your home that gently clears energetic clutter and reminds you that some forms of protection are invisible, but always near. Unlike coins, crystals, or metal objects, a feather carries no hard edges. Its softness absorbs tension. Its lightness lifts sorrow. And because feathers come from creatures that fly, they symbolize freedom from heaviness, freedom from debt, grief, fear, and all the burdens we silently carry. One mother I spoke to, a woman named Sharon, shared how she struggled with grief after losing her own mother. The house felt heavy. Not haunted, but weighed down. A friend gave her a white feather and suggested placing it in a jar of rice with the simple intention, "Let peace return." She placed the jar in her living room, near her mother's old armchair. She didn't expect anything. But over time, her daughter started sitting there again. The air felt lighter. And more importantly, Sharon felt a shift inside herself, a soft acceptance. A letting go. That is the subtle work of the feather. If you use one, be mindful of where it comes from. Choose a clean, naturally shed feather, preferably found in a quiet or meaningful moment. Don't use artificial or dyed feathers, they carry none of the lightness we seek. If needed, cleanse the feather by leaving it in the sunlight for a few hours or gently passing it through incense smoke. Place it at the top of the rice jar, so it rests lightly. You don't want it crushed or buried. Let it appear as if it simply landed there, a graceful symbol of protection. This setup is especially powerful in spaces where you rest or reflect. Bedrooms, meditation corners, reading nooks. It quietly reminds you, you are watched over. Your space is safe. Your energy can rise again. And spiritually speaking, the feather represents surrender without weakness, the art of flowing with life rather than forcing outcomes. In a world that constantly demands pushing, planning, and performing, the white feather calls us home to something simpler, presence. So if your home feels noisy, not just with sound, but with thought, memory, or stress, this may be the sacred tool you need. Because sometimes, all it takes is one silent feather to shift the entire air around you. Part 8, Amethyst, the mind's crystal. In the vast world of crystals, amethyst stands apart, not because it's the rarest or most expensive, but because it holds a balance that few others can match: clarity and calm, wisdom and wealth, stillness and strength. Amethyst has long been regarded as a spiritual stone. In Buddhist practice, it is used to deepen meditation, calm restless minds, and support clear thinking. In Feng Shui, it is placed in areas of the home to purify energy and attract harmonious flow. But when buried gently in a jar of rice, amethyst transforms from a passive decorative item into a living spiritual companion, radiating focus, balance, and subtle financial growth. This crystal works not by forcing change, but by clearing the fog, emotionally, mentally, and energetically. It's the stone of still waters, steady, deep, quietly powerful. One entrepreneur I know, Michael, a designer constantly juggling multiple projects, was drawn to amethyst without understanding why. A friend suggested he place it in a rice jar near his workspace. I didn't expect it to do anything, he told me. But something shifted. I started finishing things. I started hearing myself think again. Amethyst doesn't attract money in the conventional sense. It doesn't magnetize lottery wins or surprise checks. Instead, it cultivates the mental spaciousness and emotional calm that allow abundance to find you. Because when your mind is clear, your choices improve. When your energy is steady, your focus deepens. And where there is clarity, there is prosperity. When selecting an amethyst for this ritual, go for natural stones, not plastic imitations or mass-produced gems with artificial coatings. You don't need a giant geode. Even a small raw chunk or polished piece will hold powerful energy if it's authentic and well cared for. Before placing it in your rice jar, take time to cleanse the crystal. Rinse it under cool water or leave it under moonlight overnight. Then, hold it in your hands and silently set your intention, whether it's peace, mental focus, business clarity, or emotional healing. Let the crystal hear you. Then place it near the top of the rice, not buried too deeply. Ideally, it should be visible, catching the light and gently charging the space with its purple calm. For placement in your home, amethyst works beautifully in the east, to support learning, health, and inner growth. The northwest or north, to enhance clarity and career decisions. The bedroom, to soothe anxiety and improve sleep. Just remember to cleanse the stone monthly, especially if you meditate or work near it. You're not just keeping it clean, you're clearing it of energetic buildup so it can continue to serve you well. Ultimately, amethyst reminds us that true wealth begins with the mind. Not with hustle, not with luck, but with presence. And in a world of noise and distraction, sometimes a quiet purple crystal sitting in a jar of rice is the most powerful advisor you'll ever have. Part 9, Where to place the jar, energy mapping for abundance. You've selected your item. You've buried it in clean, sacred rice. But now comes a step many overlook, the placement. Because in Feng Shui, where you place something is just as important as what you place. Every home is like a map of your life. Each direction, north, south, east, west, governs a different area of your existence: wealth, relationships, health, reputation, creativity, and more. When you place your rice jar with intention, you activate those areas and invite flow, alignment, and prosperity into them. Let's start with a few powerful placement zones. The East, growth, health, career foundations. This is where the sun rises, and where beginnings are strongest. Placing your jar in the east part of your home energizes your career path, personal development, and physical vitality. If your rice jar contains a silver ring or amethyst, the east is an excellent choice to invite grounded movement and calm strength in your work. The south, fame, recognition, confidence. This area governs how the world sees you. Want to be noticed, respected, or promoted? The south holds that fire energy. Placing a gold ingot or cinnamon herb blend in your rice jar here helps ignite motivation, attract attention, and support entrepreneurial ambition. The southeast, wealth and prosperity. Traditionally called the wealth corner in Feng Shui, this zone is ideal for activating abundance. Ancient coins, prayer beads, or amethyst placed here amplify financial energy, especially when combined with clean rice and regular intention setting. The north, career and life path. If you're in a period of transition, changing jobs, starting a business, or seeking direction, place the jar in the north area. Items like amethyst, feathers, or silver rings here create clarity and steady movement. A few practical notes. Don't hide the jar. Let it breathe. Keep it in a clean, uncluttered space where it's easy to notice, not to obsess over, but to honor. Avoid placing it near drains, trash bins, or under beds. These areas can energetically drain the blessings you're cultivating. Move it occasionally. Energy stagnates if the environment stays too still for too long. Every few weeks, gently relocate your jar, even just by a few inches. This mimics nature's rhythm, constant, gentle motion. Treat it like a living altar. Light a candle beside it if you wish. Speak your intentions aloud when passing it. Or simply pause for one mindful breath. What matters is the awareness you bring to it. In the end, your rice jar is more than just a spiritual object, it's a compass. A way to navigate energy. A gentle structure that keeps your focus aligned with the life you're creating. And when placed with care, that small jar becomes a quiet lighthouse, guiding prosperity to your doorstep, one breath, one moment, one intention at a time. Part 10, True Stories, When the Jar Changed Everything. Sometimes, the most powerful changes don't begin with loud breakthroughs. They begin quietly, with a gesture so small, it almost seems unimportant. Like burying a ring in rice. Or placing a feather in a jar. But when the intention is real, and the space is prepared, energy shifts. Let me share you a story. Michael, the exhausted father who found peace. Michael was a 42-year-old father of 3 working long hours in a demanding logistics job. His days were full of spreadsheets and back-to-back phone calls. His nights were consumed by financial worry. He wasn't interested in energy or rituals. But after watching a video much like this one, something in him softened. That night, he found an old silver ring in his drawer, one he hadn't worn since college. He wiped it clean, dropped it into a fresh jar of jasmine rice, and placed it near the front door. Then he forgot about it. Or so he thought. Weeks later, he noticed his sleep had improved. The tension between him and his wife had eased. Even his children seemed more relaxed. Then came something he hadn't expected. His boss invited him to lead a new project. More responsibility, more income, but also, oddly, less stress. When I asked him if he thought it was the rice jar, he said, "I don't know. But something shifted. And maybe the jar helped me shift, too." Lena, the student who found her path. Lena was a 20-year-old college student in San Diego, overwhelmed by school, unsure of her path, and stuck in a cloud of anxiety. She told me, I didn't need more motivation. I needed alignment, something to help me feel like my life made sense again. After hearing about the rice jar method, she created her own using an amethyst stone, a coin from her grandmother, and a white feather she'd found during a walk. She placed it on her dorm windowsill. Slowly, she began journaling again. Her grades improved. She changed majors from business to environmental design, something that finally lit her up inside. And surprisingly, she began attracting like-minded friends, even forming a small weekly meditation group. She told me, the jar didn't fix everything. But I think it reminded me that I had the power to reset. The lesson behind the stories. Neither of these people were monks. They weren't spiritual masters or energy healers. They were ordinary people facing ordinary challenges. But what made the difference was a moment of mindfulness, the willingness to create a container for something more. You see, the jar isn't magic. The rice isn't a spell. The objects don't whisper secret wishes into the wind. What they do is give your energy a place to live. A place to focus. A place to remember. They remind your nervous system that you are held. That you are not powerless. That your space is sacred. And when your space becomes sacred, your life begins to mirror that sanctity. In Buddhism, we often say that the outer reflects the inner. When your environment holds peace, your thoughts follow. And when your thoughts align, your actions change. That's when your life shifts. Not overnight. Not dramatically. But truthfully. Steadily. One small jar at a time. Final reflections and daily wealth practice. We often think of wealth as something far away, something we must chase, earn, accumulate, or unlock with just the right plan. But what if wealth isn't something out there? What if it's something you prepare space for? A rice jar filled with intention, a silver ring once forgotten, a coin from a loved one, or a feather found during a walk. These are not grand gestures. They're small, sacred acts. They are the containers of energy that say to the universe, here is a place where abundance is welcomed. Where peace is protected. Where clarity is honored. And that's the true purpose of this ritual. Not to summon sudden miracles, but to remind you, gently, daily, that you are in relationship with your space. And through your space, with the energy that shapes your entire life. The rice jar becomes your anchor. Every time you see it, you're reminded to breathe. To slow down. To realign your thoughts with gratitude, your actions with purpose. And slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the current of your life begins to change. Small doors open. Stress softens. Clarity arrives. And prosperity, not just financial, but emotional, relational, and spiritual, begins to flow in ways you never expected. Your daily wealth practice. Here's something simple you can do starting today. Stand before your rice jar once each morning. Close your eyes, take one deep breath, and silently say, I create space for peace, clarity, and wealth to flow into my life. That's it. No ritual robes. No incense required. Just you. Just presence. Because in the Dharma, wealth is not what you chase. It's what you're aligned with. If you found this practice meaningful, please like this video, subscribe to Wisdom of the Dharma, and leave a comment with your own affirmation. Something as simple as I welcome abundance into my life can be the seed of transformation, not just for you, but for everyone who reads it. Thank you for sharing this space with me today. May your home be peaceful. May your path be steady. And may your life overflow, quietly, gracefully, with the wealth that truly matters. Until next time. Stay grounded. Stay open. And stay in the flow.